Long time no see.
Hey, what is going on? It's been forever.
It has been forever. There's a lot of news that's going on too right now, and one of the big things
Yeah.
is that I'm worried about personally because it's what I grew up with. Is the DCEU actually going to be dead? What do you think?
Well, yeah, all the reports that are coming out, and it started on January 1st. Lots of insiders throwing out stuff on the internet and Twitter. Yeah, it does look like as of right now, when The Flash, this is all going to center around The Flash, when that movie comes out, it looks like it's going to totally create a mess. Let's just say that when we can go into details.
I mean, I don't. Before we get to the the article that we're going to go over, what I'm so confused on first, it's not a coincidence that all these people on January 1st start throwing out news like this to try to get clicks because it's a new year, so it's all about clicks where they can get new people, new things, and go from there. The other thing is, why in the hell would I want to watch this Flash movie if it sounds this confusing and
Yeah.
this where it's going to be done? Why do I want to watch it? I mean, really, why?
I don't know. I mean, they've got time to figure out the marketing, but right now, uh, the marketing is terrible. And you know just how Warner Brothers always does it. They're reactionary and they are freaking out over No Way Home. They're seeing how Marvel did it again,
Yeah.
how they did it seamlessly. It wasn't confusing and it was awesome.
Yep.
So
And
now with No Way Home, it's like, oh wow, we have the MCU and kind of sorta the other Spider-Man movies are part of the MCU in a way,
yeah.
and it works.
The other thing that I don't understand at all is there's something big going to be coming up in April, like huge, that can make DC completely different that no one's talking about. And you really think that between now and April, they're going to make this like there's not this much information that they can for sure know before a new regime comes in.
No, I mean, and it's pretty telling that there isn't any like new projects being announced. Batgirl started filming this week. Blue Beetle is gonna start filming in the March, I think. And there's nothing else that they've announced. There's some things that they say they're working on, but there's nothing official. So you're right. Come April, the big merger happens with Warner Media and Discovery. And it really does feel like the regime, especially at Warner's slash DC, are like, hey, this is the route we want to take. We don't know if we're gonna have jobs. We
Yeah.
hear rumors that we probably won't. We hear rumors that he's gonna want to change everything. That David Zaslav, and we're gonna try to shove as much through with this Flash movie and other projects as we can.
Yeah.
And maybe people will react to it positively and like, oh, look what we've done. You're not gonna fire us now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just based on the reaction they've received since New Year's Day, I mean, there's not too many happy DC fans out there.
No. Before we get into some questions I have about that, the Flash is going to be bad. They're doing a No Way Home type deal, which I think they're trying their best to do it, and it's going to be a disaster. But nobody cares about the Flash unless maybe they get Grant Gustin, and he's rumored. He's a big rumor that he's going to show up. How will that work if that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident they're gonna have him in a cameo. I don't think he'll have anywhere near the type of role that Toby and Andrew did, but he's gonna be in there. But yeah, your point's well taken. And according to other insiders, WB doesn't have much confidence in the Flash, and it mostly centers around Ezra Miller. They don't feel he can lead the movie. That's why most of the marketing will end up and discussion will end up being about Michael Keaton. And then Ben Affleck is Batman in the movie, his last apparently. Um, so they're gonna really hammer and the cameos and then Supergirl. So it's barely gonna be a Flash for his first movie. Yeah, because there's not a lot of buzz about it, and I think there would have been for a character as popular as the Flash. But let's be honest, there's been what going into 8 seasons of the Flash on
Yeah,
television. And unfortunately, at the time when the movie's getting ready to come out, that show is damn near unwatchable.
it's
I
trash.
mean, it's trash. I mean, my son and I loved to watch it. He can't. He gave up. I don't blame him.
I got a question for you. I think honestly, they are going to make a gigantic mistake if they put Grant in this movie, and it's because people for if you took a poll, it would be 75 or 80% people like Grant better than Ezra, and it would be a
Yeah,
mistake in my opinion if you dangled that fish in front of people.
yeah, I know. It's murky. It's murky. I mean, yeah, I think that the show is terrible, but I used to love it, and I think, and there's still a lot of people that would maybe they quit watching it, but really like Grant Gustin as the Flash. And there's not been a lot of positivity about Ezra Miller as a Flash because
Yeah.
he was abysmal in the Justice League version,
Yeah.
Joss Whedon's version. Horrible. I mean,
Yep.
completely useless. He was redeemed, in my opinion, quite a bit in Snyder Cut, but still the weakest of the bunch as far as likability. It's like, and maybe if you knew nothing of the Flash, you might like him, but being a fan of the Flash, I mean, it's like, oh man, Grant Gustin buries him as far as portraying Barry Allen.
Yep. And the other thing is, again, the MCU beats them to it. The MCU brought Daredevil in, they brought Kingpin in, so they are already entwined in this. And
Yeah,
DC missed an opportunity to go with Grant. They missed an opportunity with Arrow. I mean, these were popular characters that the DC fans loved that they had a
yeah.
chance to use, and they just blew it, in my opinion.
Well, they didn't capitalize on when the CW was actually making quality product either, because you could almost see them like panicking, like, oh, let's bring those characters and actors back in. Well, I hate to tell you, but the CW's ratings are trash. The quality of the shows, especially since the big COVID break where they
Hmm.
weren't filming, they have dropped dramatically. I mean, so the shine is completely off of those characters and even the actors. I think if you brought them in now, I'd be like, I don't know, it's kind of cheap, So that'd be one faction of people, and the other faction would be like, well, I even though maybe it's cheap, I still prefer them to this guy. I mean, they're damned either way they
Yeah.
go, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you two things. And before we do, if people are in here, if you have not hit the like button, go ahead and hit it. I hate saying that, but it is a fact that it helps the stream if you would
Yeah,
do this.
hit that like
So
button.
I agree with this guy right here. A new Batman on Joaquin Phoenix Joker would be dope. And I agree. I don't think it's going
Yeah.
to happen, but man, I would love to see that.
It's fun. Yeah, I agree. But somehow it's like Warner Brothers keeps shooting themselves in the foot of, you have this amazing Joker movie, and then you hire Matt Reeves to do a new Batman, and it looks good. But once again, every time they hire someone, and I love Christopher Nolan, but he was notorious too. Like, you can't touch my Batman. He's not going to be a part of anything. Matt Reeves is the same. I want my little island over here. So then you handcuff yourself as a studio if you're trying to do any kind of cohesive universe. Because it's like, oh, we'll have everyone, but Batman's over here.
But
So we'll bring
time
on
out for a
70-year-old
second.
Batman. Yeah.
I'm gonna give some props to this director though, because it is a mess. Why would you want your character in the mess that's going on right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, that's a good point.
I mean, I got Batman, and in my opinion, Spider-Man just proved that their whole universe could survive without any other of the MCU. That
Yeah, they
this
really
last
did.
No Way Home, they don't need Doctor Strange. They could do their own thing with their own characters and do great. Batman is the same way as what Spider-Man is to the MCU. And I don't you gotta prove to me that things are getting better before I would want to include that.
Well, there you go. I mean, again, though, they've shot themselves in the foot because they've ruined their reputation in the beginning by shoehorning everything in too quick.
Yep.
And say, oh, we want the Justice League now, not to build it up like Marvel did.
Yep.
Marvel did. So you're right. And the quality directors don't want to be handcuffed to whatever mess they have as a cohesive universe. Unlike if you're working for Marvel, where everything's like a well-oiled machine, and you get the directors who are like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll sign up for that.
Yeah.
So you get a Matt Reeves who says, I'll do Batman, but I'm not hooking it to this train. It's going to be my own thing.
Yeah.
But then as fans, we're like, well, that's great, but damn it,
We're this
now we
close.
have,
We're this close.
yeah, and like, I love Michael Keaton as Batman, obviously, but not really now. Do you really
Yeah,
want
exactly.
70-year-old retired Batman as your main DCEU Batman?
No.
No.
I mean, no.
No, you don't. You want Ben Affleck.
I actually don't know if I do right now. I don't know if I want Ben Affleck, and if Robert Pattinson can play this part very well, that would be the one that I would lean to. Because I don't think
Yeah.
Ben, if we can be honest, besides the Snyder Cut, Ben was not good in much of anything. He was, you could tell he had the drinking issue on Batman versus Superman.
Oh,
He could hardly
those
fit.
are
I
fighting
mean,
words.
so what is no, I'm not, and I'm a Batman fan, but what has
Yeah.
Ben really done besides the Snyder Cut to tell you he needs to be Batman going forward? And which people need to know, yes, Ben is coming out saying right now that he doesn't want anything to do with the superhero thing. But that is also probably going to change once he starts seeing Snyderverse coming out and the direction the new regime takes.
Yeah, that's everyone's hope. I mean, and Ben Affleck, he talked about it in that recent interview, how people hated the fact that he was Batman, didn't want him as Batman. Then BVS came out. And the funny thing about BVS is that it came out, got shredded in the reviews. Fan base was kind of divided too. It's too dark, didn't make sense. But over time, it's just become better viewed, better viewed, better viewed. And the thing that people hook on, which I don't blame him, is like the greatest Batman 3 or 4 minutes on film ever, is that warehouse fight scene.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, when you watch that scene, you're like, golly, can I have a whole movie of that? Maybe 3 movies of that? That's what we want to see. So you're right, because his what he did in Justice League with Joss Whedon was, I mean,
Garbage.
it was garbage, and he knows it, and he was in a terrible state of mind. It was awful, dreadful. So yeah, other than that, at the time he only had the some of BVS, and then Snyder Cut. It's like, okay, the potential's here. That's why everyone's hooking on. We want to see that potential realized.
And I'm okay with Ben Affleck as Batman. I don't know if I can say just by his acting of what he's done besides the Snyder
Yeah.
Cut that I could say he's Batman for me.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that he's my all-time favorite, but I guess visually and physically, it's like, okay, he checks all the boxes and then some. But I'm real intrigued to see what Robert Pattinson does with this role. So
Yeah, I am too. I'm going to give him at least a halfway chance on what he can do. before we get to Sam, because I want to show something Sam said. This is a segue into the same thing. I think Ben Affleck's Batman is the best actor character in the DCEU.
I mean, yeah, I'm all about Superman, so
Henry
but
Cavill is,
I'm kind of the same way. I don't know how I felt about Ben Affleck in the beginning, but it is kind of like maybe rose-colored glasses. I don't know, hindsight 2020, where it's like the more you watch those movies, they've grown on you. And it's like, man, there was such potential there when the Snyder Cut came out. You're like, okay, I feel like it all came together.
yeah,
Things I didn't like about the other two movies are like, this, this is something. This was good. This was good. We need to see more of this. And if I could say one more thing about Ben Affleck, then we can move on. Is even though I would love to see him continue, to at least do like Justice League 2 and 3, let's say. I don't people that are getting all wrapped up in this, and Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. We're not considering that Ben is almost 50 years old.
yeah.
I mean, do you think know how hard it is to stay in Batman shape and get back in that kind of a buff role? I mean, Henry Cavill's 38, so he's like over 10 years younger than Ben
Yeah.
Affleck.
I think they're
So,
actually more worried about signing Henry Cavill first, in my opinion. And they should be.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they need to have Henry Cavill. I really don't know how things are going to go with Ben. I don't know, but Henry, it's like, guys, this is a slam dunk. He wants to do it. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't want to pay him as much. Freaking pay the man. Let's get some fan
Yep.
momentum. Let's get everyone happy. Everyone, you're going to build that momentum. He's huge now with The Witcher. Why you wouldn't do it is beyond me, but whatever.
All right. So Sam says something, and I totally agree with him. WB, DC needs to step up their game just to get Marvel to step up their game. I think
Yeah.
Marvel on purpose is always doing something before DC can. And I think that's almost laughable that DC is such a mess that Marvel can just do that when they want to. No Way Home opening up the multiverse
Yeah.
before DC
Yeah.
can do it. And on top of that, Flash holding up his book with Flashpoint. I mean, that was so
Ooh, that was a
slap in the face.
burn.
Yeah.
I mean, what's sad
So
is that they've had this Flash movie in development for years. They had the multiverse idea way before Feige did, and yet Feige gets a hold of it. He's got spies everywhere, I think.
yeah, I do.
I don't
I
know that,
agree.
but anyway, he gets a hold of the idea. Bam, Spider-Man. Done. $1 billion, 1.5 billion,
Yeah.
1.5 billion during the pandemic when everything else is cratering. I mean, come on.
It was
So,
a slam dunk how they did it too.
yeah. No, you're right. And for a moment there, I don't know what everyone else thinks. It felt like DC was kind of getting that momentum. I mean, when you had $2 billion movies with Aquaman and Joker, you're like, okay, DC
And the
is
first Wonder Woman.
yeah, and the first Wonder Woman, of course, yes. And Shazam, while it didn't make a ton of money, was very well liked and received. So you had the Wonder Woman, Shazam, Joker, Aquaman. It was like, okay, DC's rolling. And then you get Birds of Prey, and you get Wonder Woman 84, and you get constant reports of Cavill's in, Cavill's out, Affleck's in, Affleck's out, Snyderverse continues, it's not going to continue. It's just been a mess ever since then.
The DC universe is just so unorganized that it is hard for a fan to enjoy, because that fan has watched Marvel for so long and be organized that is how their mind is trained now. And it is like the
Yeah.
Suicide Squad. Let's just throw that in. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. Let's Peacekeeper. We're going to throw that in.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just
Yeah,
so
Suicide Squad.
unorganized.
That was the other one, tanked. Although I
But it
like
was
Suicide
good.
Squad.
I thought it
I
was
know.
great.
I actually really like that movie, but no, yeah, tanked big time. So I don't know. You're right. The younger generation now. I mean, Marvel's been over DC in the comic world for a lot of years. Every once in a while, DC will come up for a little while, but they're always like around here. Marvel's always a little bit ahead, but they're always keeping pace with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And man, with the MCU, the gap I feel is just like really widened. And I
It's
don't know
huge,
how
widen.
I don't know how it'll be a generation if it ever were to close a gap. I mean, Marvel just keeps beating them at every angle.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much momentum now that it's
I mean,
it's like WorldCom against Amazon now. I mean, I know that
yeah.
sounds like a weird comparison, but it's just bad.
Hey, for the old fogies out there, it's beta versus VHS. I don't know.
Yeah, and man, and I love this statement right here. DC strives when they take darker, more complex story routes. There are so many insane story routes like Flashpoint, which is portrayed in live action. But I'm going to say this: I also think DC has failed to go too dark because Jeff Johns will say this, and we both heard this. DC is about hope, is about you know good and stuff like that, and they continually in the movies to go as dark as they possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a whole revisionist history, it feels like, when BVS came out. Just everything and Man of Steel. You had this huge contingent of fans that were negative against it because it was dark, super dark, and it
Mhm.
wasn't hopeful, and Batman was killing people, even though Michael Keaton killed tons of people too. But Superman killed Zod, and everyone freaked out, and then it was dark, too dark, and Marvel's so much better. And you almost couldn't blame the studio for wanting to have a little distinction. But, now Jeff John gets a lot of the blame because he came in there and probably did butt heads with Zack Snyder over, like, this is too dark. And I
Yeah.
don't care what anyone says. No one knows the characters better than Jeff Johns, or no one cares about him more than him. And so, in his mind, I'm sure he was fighting for a better, hopeful, more bright universe. And unfortunately, that bore fruit with the abomination that was Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah.
And so, even though I feel he's right, the movies, it did not work. It didn't work in how they produced it. It was terrible. So now
And
they're going back to the darker route, which fans seem to want. I don't know that I always agree with that, but cinematically it worked better.
I can say that and Sam just said that DC isn't about hope, which I don't think Batman is about hope. I think Superman is. I think Wonder Woman is. Heck, Aquaman wasn't even a dark movie. It was a very big, hopeful movie that did well. I think the only one, obviously, the Joker had to be as dark as what it was because look at the character. But
Yeah.
I think Jeff Johns has gotten such a bad rap. And man, thank you for telling me about Ethan's um, YouTube that I went and watched because he went
Yeah.
into detail about what actually happened. And Jeff Johns, in my opinion, from what he is saying, he didn't do hardly anything wrong.
I know that. I mean, people might want to do their research. I get it. He did go against Zack Snyder, but yeah, the blame that he's getting now or racist. I mean, it's all totally wrong. Total. I mean, it's terrible how they could tear down a guy. And you know what he did is his probably his only crime really is that he cared about the characters and wanted them represented how they were in the books. And who would know better than the guy who wrote every one of those characters to
Yeah.
extremely high sales?
And
So
for people that don't know, the biggest thing that he actually asked for from what I was understanding, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is he wanted Cyborg in Justice League to say booyah.
yeah,
And
I mean,
and what's his name? The actor, I can't even think of his name. Ray Fisher
Ray
didn't
Fisher,
want
yeah.
to say it because he thought it was a racist situation. I don't.
Yeah.
I guess I don't get it.
Here's the conundrum of this whole deal: is in the end, Zack Snyder's movie and how we saw Cyborg in that movie was better,
Hmm.
infinitely better. However, the issue is that the studio freaked out over BVS reactions. Then Zack Snyder had a personal tragedy.
Hmm.
Jeff Johns is involved in this. He sees like this is our opportunity to really change the direction of the DCU. We need to make it brighter and more hopeful. You bring in Joss Whedon. Who the hell wouldn't bring in Joss Whedon? He
Right.
he directed. He freaking built the MCU.
Right.
Basically, him and Favreau. So why the hell wouldn't you? I would have done it. So you bring in Joss Whedon, and unfortunately, it was a disaster. I mean, he is a well-known asshole. But on the flip side, here's the flip side of it. Ray Fisher, you've never had a job in a major production ever,
Ever.
and you come on the lot after you lost your buddy Zack Snyder, which sucked. I understand. You did get screwed as far as, oh wow, yeah, my character's not nearly as good in this cut. I get, but shit like that happens all the time in Hollywood. Joss Whedon
Yeah.
is a major, huge director. You're essentially a nobody, but you're acting like you're Tom Cruise.
But wait.
Tom Cruise can go in and say like, "Hey guys, I'm not saying that. I'm I'm producing this movie with you. I'm not doing it." Oh
I
yeah,
think
okay, Tom.
what's even worse is he acted like he was a somebody, and you got actors like Ben Affleck, you got actors like Gal Gadot, you got Henry Cavill. You are a nobody to those
You
people.
are you are literally bottom of the barrel. Maybe someday you would be a huge star, but guess what? Everyone starts somewhere, and Brad Pitt didn't walk into his first major production and start throwing around demands. I promise you.
Yeah. And you know what pisses me off about the whole thing is after watching the Snyder cut, I actually loved Cyborg as a character,
Right.
and I would love to see a movie about that.
I
But
would
we're
too.
not
I
gonna.
he did a good job, so I don't want to take that away from him. And in the end, he it was like, oh man, that I was way better than that, and he was right. But you're gonna throw your weight around. You don't have any weight.
Exactly.
And look, Walter Hamada, if anyone's followed this, the guy does not have a clue on how to direct the DC universe cinematically. I agree with that. However, he also had nothing to do with just Justice League production. He was not involved in the team at the time. And you're gonna call him a racist, baby, basically, and
Yeah.
accuse him of horrible behavior. He's like, dude, I wasn't even in the production of that movie. I had nothing to do with it. It's preposterous stuff. I mean,
It's
someone I don't
sad.
know, was it Ethan or someone said this shit should be a movie. I mean, someday it probably should be. It's also ridiculous.
It would be pretty good movie, but it won't ever be touched because it's such a subject that nobody will want to touch it.
Yeah, I know, not for 20 years, if
I think
ever.
the only way that it could be touched is if they could actually find that there was gigantic racism, and then they would make the movie about that.
Right, right. Yeah.
So
But, look at all the mess that is, and then everything's, and now here we are. It's still a disaster if you're a DC fan.
okay, so Kaiju says this, and I agree with this to a point. If DC keeps rebooting the same characters, people will continue to compare the new movies to the old. The universe will get stale. Marvel had a plan from day one, and DC kind of freestyle. I agree with that to a point, but there's always going to be characters like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is going to live forever, even after Tom Holland. I mean, they're going to make
Oh, yeah.
Spider-Man movies after this. Batman, they're going to make Batman movies forever. I mean, too big of a character. Superman, same way. So you are going to have to reboot a character.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal, too, to think about the MCU. Someday, and maybe it'll happen with if they end up doing Secret Wars, but, someday we've got to have a real Tony Stark back. Someday you're gonna have Steve Rogers back. I mean, someday
Yeah.
someone's gonna play those characters again on the big screen because these characters are eternal. They're gonna outlive all of us.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna not have those characters back on the big screen someday. How? I don't know, but so it's kind of the same thing here. But what I like about how Marvel could potentially do it is they're gonna tie it all together, just like they did Spider-Man, and like, hey, remember those old Spider-Man movies? Well, guess what? They're kind of all we
Exact.
can pretend they're all together.
And
I mean,
bravo. I mean,
and it's like I thought that's what they were gonna do by bringing in Michael Keaton. Like, oh hey, he's in that world where he was Batman, and then we could still pretend Christopher Reeve's Superman is over here. But that doesn't seem like what they're gonna do. They're gonna try to diverge with all these stupid timelines that, as a comic fan, I can hardly articulate to anyone.
but the problem is, from what we're hearing about Michael Keaton, is he's almost sounding like he's the one that's going to destroy the Batman, Affleck, Superman, Henry Cavill, because he's going to bring in Supergirl and Batgirl and let them do it.
Well, yeah, because there's going to be a new timeline, and whatever this timeline is, on this timeline, there never was a Kal-El. The only surviving Krypton is Kara. And so
Yeah.
she's the Superman, woman, girl of that world. And he's going to retire, and Batgirl's going to be the Batman of that world. And so it's like,
But that's
does
not what the
anyone really?
character is. That's not what Batgirl's character is. It's
No, it's ridiculous. It's like no one says we don't want Batgirl.
right.
She's a great character on her own, but you really want a Batgirl without Batman? That's what you want? Nobody wants that except from, pink-haired weirdos. I mean, nobody wants that.
Okay, so
So,
before we get into this article, I want to say this. The characters are too valuable to kill them off permanently. 1000% agree. And this is
yeah.
the only thing about the MCU that I am worried about is the decision they're making with Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
T'Challa is right there with all these characters, and it sounds like kill him off permanently. Yes, he could come in the multiverse, but man, I 100% feel it's a bad decision. Not saying anything about Chadwick because I hate to see that, but at the same time, it was the wrong decision.
Oh, yeah, it's a terrible decision. I understand everyone's emotional. It is very recent. Marvel's hands are tied because you've got a huge billion-dollar property. The ball's rolling. You've got to have a sequel. I still think, and hell, Chadwick's brother said he would have wanted them to recast. Excuse me, but yeah, not doing that is insane to me.
All right, so let's move on to what we want to talk about. So on Geekosity, Mikey Sutton, he is going to be talking a little bit about the Flash movie coming up in the timelines, and I want to go through that a little bit with you on what you think. What I am worried about a little bit, everybody knows what Grace said. Grace was one of the first people that came out and said that the DCEU of Cavill and Affleck are done, and they're going a whole new direction with Batgirl and Supergirl. I was pretty harsh on her because I think she is one now that has became just likes to stir the pot, get people going, get clicks. She has her fans, which, man, I mean, she has created a monster over there, so hats off for that. But at the same time, I don't think she fully understands what she's talking about, or I think she's being told to say some of these things to get people going, to get maybe some attention elsewhere or attention, in a different way.
Well, I think it's very telling, and Mikey's. It's not a secret, and Mikey's the one who pointed this out. Her Beyond the Trailer YouTube channel is owned by Deadline Hollywood, a massive trade. When I say Deadline, whatever company owns Deadline and some other
Yeah.
ones, but she's owned by that. So yeah, in my opinion, she's being, hey, Grace, you still want some access to this and that from Warner Brothers, and we need you to spin this and report this. Throw that tweet out there and kind of, clamp down on your Snyder support and kind of throw some support our way, and we'll make sure you get A, B, and C. That's what she's doing.
Yep. Who did Soups just interview? He interviewed a pretty big
Yeah, I think he interviewed
director.
James Gunn. James
Yeah.
Gunn.
But did you also notice right before that interview, he posted 2 times about, I will hate to never see Henry Cavill again as Superman. So I almost feel that
Yeah,
that's connected in some way.
it's probably all connected. When you get a certain level like Soups is now, and you're going to red carpets, hey man, we really like what you do. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for bringing me out here. Oh, we're more than welcome. Hey, we'll talk again soon. Well, we talk again, like, hey, it'd be really great if you can kind of clamp down any Cavill support. Really trying to gonna be promoting the Flash with Supergirl, and we want to focus on Pattinson as Batman. And so, if you could kind of just put some tweets out there, make remarks, we'd really appreciate it, man. Oh yeah, sure, guys. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Hey, we'll make sure to have you at the premiere of the Batman.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yep. I'm sure it's got to happen. And man,
Oh
it would
yeah.
be tough. I know he's doing great and he really wants to be a part of this whole thing. So it'd be tough not to do that in his situation. Luckily, I'm an old fart and I don't really care and I don't really want to go to a red carpet. So I don't think I'll ever get the opportunity, but I don't think I would care enough to do that.
No, I don't give two shits about a red carpet. Now, if they said, hey, we're going to send you over an advanced copy and you can watch it in the comfort of your own home, that might be tempting.
Yeah. Or, we can have Henry Cavill and you can interview him. That would be pretty awesome too.
Ooh, yeah. Hey, can you come and hang out with Henry Cavill for a night at a local pub? Yep.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
All right, so let's get into what Mikey's saying about this whole thing. I want to zoom in a little bit. So the Flash movie will create a new timeline for the DCEU, keeping the Snyderverse safe. So he's really the only one right now that's saying the Snyderverse is still going to be a part of the DCEU, but it's just going to be now separate timelines compared to the other.
Exactly. Yeah, and I can't say he's the only one, but everyone else is like, Henry Cavill or Cavill and Ben Affleck are gone. Snyderverse is done. No, he's saying it isn't done. It's its own timeline now. So that's why there's still hope if, Discovery merger could bring back Zack Snyder. He can come in and say, hey, we want you to do Justice League 2 and 3. And it's totally your own thing because we've got another timeline over here with this other Justice League with Black Canary, Supergirl, Shazam, Flash, whatever. You can do your own thing.
Here's where it gets tricky for me. We already know that if Henry Cavill comes back, there's going to be a connection with him and Dwayne Johnson. So there's going to be a Black Adam situation with Superman. In my opinion, that also makes Shazam part of that. Shazam's not going to go in a whole different timeline when you got that situation cooking. Because you can't have Shazam or Black Adam without Shazam at all. I
No.
mean, it makes no sense. So then if Affleck comes back for some Justice League 2 and 3, so you have Cavill, Dwayne Johnson, Shazam, Affleck. I mean, Gal Gadot has to be still around. Aquaman still has to be around. What the hell timeline as a fan are you going to be interested in?
Well, yeah. I mean, and then are you going to do Justice League 2 and 3 and try to do the New Gods angle? Well, Flash was in that. Is he gone now?
Yeah.
What happened with that? I thought he was friends with Cyborg. I mean, yeah. I think, you know, I don't know how they're gonna try to explain this
Yeah.
in the Flash movie. It's gonna be. It sounds like a mess. Um, my only good thing is I do believe that there is still hope for Snyder to return and finish the Justice League 2. I firmly believe that Henry Cavill is going to come back. I'm not certain about Affleck, but then again, that messes it up though. If you don't have Affleck come back, how does that work?
I
You
don't
know?
know. In my opinion, though, if they're going to have Black Adam movie first and Shazam 2 first, and then
Yeah,
if Cavill is coming back, he has to have his own Superman another movie. You're not going
he
to just
has
have him
to.
be in Black Adam 2 going against Black Adam. I don't
But
think
but
it
then you're
doesn't
gonna
fit.
have three Superman movies. You're gonna have. I don't know that it's ever gonna happen, but theoretically, the Black Superman that J.J. Abrams is doing. Then you've got Val Zod, Michael B. Jordan, and then you'd have Henry Cavill.
All different
What?
timelines, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And again, I'm a comic guy, and that's still is hard for me
Crazy.
to. It's crazy.
I can say if Ezra Miller, this is going to be bad. Ezra Miller can go to the other timeline with Batgirl and Supergirl.
Yeah,
And if I don't know if Grant is going to be a permanent kind of thing because the WB the Flash is about over. Send him over with Henry Cavill and Superman and Black Adam and all them.
you wouldn't get anyone complaining about that if you had
And
Grant Gustin.
I
Imagine what
would
he could
tell
do with a good director, like a production, a good direction. He would kill it.
the only way that could happen, they have to know that they can't make big movies. They would have to be all HBO Max or something like that with the other timeline.
Yeah, and I do think that is a plan. Like theoretically, Val Zod is is HBO Max. I think that should be theatrical though, with Michael B. Jordan. Whatever crap fest J.J. Abrams is going to do should be the HBO Max. Um, but regardless, yeah, I think you're right. They are. That's what they're going to do, and that isn't a terrible strategy. Taking lesser known or other properties, just like Disney's doing or Marvel.
Yeah, yeah,
You take Hawkeye, who may or may not blow up on a movie, but you put him on the Disney Plus, and it's really great, or Moon Knight or whatever. So that theory could be sound, but when you're running around with a chicken with your head cut off over there at
mm,
Warner Brothers, this is what you get.
yep.
Years of it.
And it's so frustrating because the pieces. I think we all see that the pieces are actually there right now.
They really are. I mean, how cool would it just be like just leave the Snyder Justice League as it is? Try to negotiate with Cavill, get him back. You continue Snyder stuff. You can introduce Supergirl. You introduce Batgirl. You did a Flash movie and you kind of show another universe. Oh, it's Batman. It's Michael Keaton. How cool is that? Um, and so you maybe even hint about a Christopher Reeve, or so you do the Spider-Man thing and you show that it's all tied together while still keeping kind of a narrative.
Yeah,
I don't see why that's so difficult to do, and now you're just muddying the waters.
yeah, exactly. And oh, they have a chance, and I would be good with. Well, Arrow won't come back, but I would be good with Arrow being a part of it too. But it just won't happen. Could
Yeah.
you imagine that as Justice League 2? I mean, having Grant, having why do I always forget his name? Arrow.
Oh, Stephen Amell.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Steven or Grant are like great actors, but the popularity that they are, I think they could do good enough and be the B role, players that it would be great.
Well, I mean, honestly though, it's like you see big stars and they're not really great actors. You get these actors. I mean, they've done. how many episodes, you get them a quality director and a
Yeah,
big production. And I think you're going to have them rise to the occasion with what they can bring to the table. But that's not going to happen.
it
So,
won't happen.
I
Oh,
mean, hey, you know what? We do have some hope. We have the merger. Yeah, I mean, I think he'd kill it. I think he'd kill it, Grant Gustin. I agree.
yeah.
But we do have hope with the merger with Discovery in April. We probably won't see much until towards the end of the year of things happening. So we've got that, and then we've got another big hope, in my opinion, for Henry Cavill is that Discovery, the merger, going to pay the man, and you've got The Rock. And we do need to hope that Black Adam is good. I think it's going to be amazing, and that it hits and that it's popular. And you have all those factors. I think there's still reason to hope, but right now
Who
it sounds kind of bleak.
who is directing Black Adam?
It's the same director he worked on with Jungle Cruise. I can't remember his name. It's kind of I just can't remember his name.
Okay, I mean I could
But
look it up.
he did Jungle Cruise. I'm not sure if he didn't do one other movie with The Rock as well, but I know he directed Jungle Cruise, which I enjoyed. It was very Pirates of the Caribbean
Colette
like.
Sarah is like a
Again,
foreign.
yeah, that's why I can't. Yeah, it's a foreign name. Excuse me.
Okay.
But I can't wait till they finally, show us Dr. Fate and Hawkman, and
Oh,
everyone's saying the action is going to rival or surpass Man of Steel. A lot of destruction. Rumored to have spin-offs featuring Dr. Fate on HBO Max, Hawkman on HBO Max. So,
the only
uh,
bad thing about Doctor Fate is Pierce Brosnan is he's old. I mean,
well, he is, but the character is kind of old. Dr. Fate, a lot of times Kent Nelson is old,
but
but the
how
mystical
long are you
energy
going to be able
keeps
to
him
do it?
youthful and vibrant. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the only other part to think about is that his face is so covered.
Mm,
Pierce would only have to really do the out of costume stuff. So,
true, but he's 68. Pierce is.
well, he's younger than Michael Keaton, and Michael's still kicking ass.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, we've got Harrison Ford, 80, what is he, 81 or 2, doing Indiana Jones again.
Yeah.
I can't, that's just, I don't know. That's going to be
How good
not
does
good.
this look?
Now,
This is
who
gonna be good.
who isn't jonesing for him to go up against Henry Cavill's Superman? I mean, come on.
It's got to happen. I mean, there's no way it doesn't happen.
It has to. There's always hope.
That's about all there is right now.
Yeah, I know. Marvel just
All
keeps
right.
on kicking ass.
Another thing that I sort of want to talk about, and you like this person probably more than I do.
Let's do it.
Ghost Rider's coming to the MCU. And he
Yeah.
has ties to Wanda. I
Hell
mean, we
yeah.
all know what those ties are, right?
Oh. Could it be Mephistopheles?
Yeah, that's what they're gonna name
Yeah.
him like in the first one. I mean, the ties is Mephisto, so are they gonna? They're surely, man, they're not gonna go down that road, are they?
Well, you know what? I would have said no. But I mean, the only reason we didn't see Mephisto yet is because of flipping China.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously. Well, guess what, guys? All how many do we have? All four. We had 4 MCU movies this year. Holy crap! All 4 MCU movies did not get a release in China. Not even Spider-Man.
and
So
Shang
China's
Chi
given
didn't. Yeah,
no. So China's giving the big middle finger to Marvel, so it's kind of like, well, F it. I mean, let's put in Mephisto then, because we're not chasing those Chinese dollars. So I think there's a good chance.
The only reason I really hope they do this is because the only thing that I always have a negative towards MCU are their villains. And I want
Yeah.
this to be a guy that we hate, that we don't like. Even if you say we didn't like Thanos, I don't know if I agree because I think we sympathized with some of the things Thanos did. We all like Kingpin, even though Kingpin is the dirtbag that he is. You have that I like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're
No, I
not
agree.
good on their villains.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like it's time to have a villain that is irredeemable. Like I enjoy the redeemable ones like Doc Ock but like
Loki.
let Loki, of course. But what about the last time I can remember hating a villain so bad I almost kind of hated the actor too was freaking what was his name? Joffrey from Game of Thrones. That
Oh
little
yeah.
bastard.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, he was irredeemable. An
Yep.
evil shit. So I think it's time that we see that in the MCU.
And
There's no redeeming qualities.
nobody liked him. Nobody liked that character.
No, no.
That is what we need.
Yeah. It's
And
like I
that's
used to feel bad for that actor. I was like, I wonder if he gets a ton of hate mail.
probably does. The other thing that we have to do, I mean, this is going off the rails, but they have to get Doctor Doom right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And he really and to be fair to Doctor Doom, there is redeeming qualities in Doom. That's why he's so enduring. He can be such an evil SOB. And then it's like, oh man, he has honor and that kind of stuff. So they got to balance that really well and make him a very special villain. You're right.
Yep.
They have to nail Doctor Doom. He's like Doctor Doom and Galactus as a force of nature. I know they are going to do that. We're going to see Galactus and Doom in the not so distant future.
Do you like this actor that they're thinking to play Ghost Rider?
Oh man, Norman Reedus. Well, he's always been pretty one note. I mean, visually and stylistically, he fits Johnny Blaze to a T. So yeah, um,
Are you glad that
I've
they're doing
watched.
Johnny Blaze?
Oh yeah, I want to see Johnny Blaze. But I mean, the rumor is we're going to see more Ghost Riders and Danny catches on the table. So, um, there was a rumor that was in development for Disney Plus, a Ghost Riders plural show where you'd have Johnny and Danny, who are brothers, as the Ghost Riders. So that would be my hope. I hope they go that route. I'd love to see the two of them together. That would be ideal. So, but yeah,
I
I think he'd be a good.
does a lot of the darkness that the MCU is going to go in have a lot to do with how Moon Knight's going to do?
Yeah, I'm sure Midnight needs to hit a little. Well, not a little, but it needs to be well received. I'm
Because
sure
it's
they're
going
too
to be
far.
pretty different than what we're used to for the MCU.
Yeah, I know. I think we probably should temper our expectations. We're not going to get that hallway fight scene that Daredevil had, or the brutal Punisher hallway jail fight.
Yeah.
We're not getting that. So we've got to temper it with some realistic Disney Plus. This is Disney Plus still. But I hope that it is dark. It needs to be.
Yeah.
And we just had the announcement of another actress that has added to the werewolf. Uh-oh.
The Halloween special?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. It sounded like something was blowing up, but
Oh, no.
yeah. Okay, the werewolf Halloween special. So, they added her, and she's supposedly going to be Nina Price, the vampire by night. So anyway, we're getting some dark stuff. We've got Blade going to start shooting in June-ish, I think. So yeah, I hope they hit the right balance that people enjoy it, because I really am looking forward to something a little darker.
Yeah, and I think there's an
Yeah,
audience
they're
for
there.
it for sure.
Yeah. So I'm as long as he's playing Jack Russell and not that other character that was only in 4 issues, I'm extremely excited about this, because I read Werewolf by Night as a kid well, I have the whole omnibus and loved that
Mm.
character, so I'm really excited about it.
But are you a little disappointed that it's only a Halloween special?
Yeah. But
Do you
I
think
guess
it
I'll
could
take it
go
over nothing.
further? But could it go further if they do well? I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean it's gonna totally be a setup. I mean, it's leading to other things for sure.
Okay.
Just kind of like the Guardians special, the Christmas special is gonna lead right into Guardians 3. So yeah, I, I know that we'll see more of those characters, even though we're only gonna get a special. So
I want to say for all the fans out there that are hearing that Henry Cavill is done, I'm going to segue now that things are going to change. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's coming back, but I don't think in April with the new regime that we're going to get a different. I think it's going to be a different story completely. And I think they legally probably have to not say they're in contract talks already because they technically, aren't part ownership.
yeah, I mean, guys, yeah, things are gonna change, and it may not be exactly how we want it, but to say Henry Cavill's completely done, not true. It's just not true. Um, it's in flux,
Yeah.
but he's not done. I mean, come on, go back and look at all the scoopers who said Snyder Cut was a pipe dream. Ben Affleck is totally done. He's never coming back as Batman. Well, he did for The Flash, and we got the Snyder Cut. So things in Hollywood can change on a dime,
Yep.
and you know, I think it'd be foolish to say, "Oh, Henry is 100% coming back."
Yeah.
I don't think we can say that until the ink's dried on the new contract, but to say there isn't some negotiations going on and things waiting to see how the merger plays out, come on now.
I don't have much else. I don't know if you have something else that you want to discuss real quick before we leave.
Well, hey, I just want to give out a little. I love my B characters, okay? I
All
like my
right.
B characters. So again, go check out Geekosity, Darkhawk, and James McAvoy. So if you're a '90s kid, Darkhawk was pretty hot for like a hot minute, and Marvel uses him sparingly on and off. So apparently, there's a project if he's going to show up in a group thing, or if he's going to have a one-shot episode or a Disney Plus show, whatever. But yeah, James McAvoy as Darkhawk. I really hope this is true. And I think the article does point out that that's who Marvel is interested in. So I don't think they've reached negotiations, but you know, if you're not familiar with Darkhawk, go get familiar. Visually, he's badass looking, I think. Um, so he's really an Earthbound slash cosmic hero, a lot like Nova. So he has always started out as a young kid as more just your street level hero, and then really got his powers, from a cosmic mean or way, and so now he's mostly in the cosmic side of things. But cool character, another cool addition to the MCU. If it's true, can't wait.
The other thing that we need to talk about, and I almost slipped this and didn't say anything about it. Um, there's some rumors about Tom Cruise right now.
Oh, yeah. Let's take this one with a huge grain of salt. But hey, apparently they have went hog wild. Marvel has with the Multiverse of Madness. They've even reached out to Ben Affleck to see if he'd come back for a cameo as Daredevil. They are throwing
Wow.
everything in the kitchen sink in there for cameos. And one of them was Tony Stark, or Tom Cruise as Tony Stark. I don't know if anyone knows this, but back in the day, he was signed to play Tony Stark, was trying to produce an Iron Man movie, and it just never got off the ground. And then it became what we know today. But he was Iron Man on paper, at least for a little while. So I won't make any big spoilers for Multiverse of Madness right now, but look up the Illuminati if anyone's interested in Marvel lore, and they're supposed to play a huge part in Multiverse of Madness. So,
Okay, I do want you to explain the Illuminati a little bit on why this could be so big. And there's some characters in there besides Iron Man and Doctor Strange that I think entices me even a little bit more.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, the big members were Reed Richards, of course, Strange and Tony, Black Bolt, and Professor X, and
And Namor.
Submariner, and
Yeah.
Namor.
So are we going to get introduced? I mean, is there a real chance to get introduced to Black Bolt? And will that have any effect on the upcoming World War Hawk if it happens?
I think so. Now it's a fact that Black Bolt was in the script within the Illuminati. What no one knows is if that actually made the final cut. And I think, okay, spoilers. If you don't want to know, I think we're almost 100% getting a Professor X. I don't know if it's Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy. And I think we're getting the rumor I've heard repeatedly, and I can't ever pronounce this guy's name, but the guy who originally played Mr. Fantastic from the Tim Story movies is going to be a version of a Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
So, and I haven't really heard what Namor, if he's going to be in it. I find it weird that they might throw Namor in before we see him in Black Panther 2, but maybe we will. I don't know.
Interesting. I think I'm interested in the Illuminati because if it could go over well, why can't it be a whole different thing?
Oh yeah.
But how would you do that?
Well, you got Loki now and opening up the whole variant. So you have a Iron Man variant of Tony Stark. You have a variant of Reed Richards, a variant of Professor X that aren't necessarily from our MCU. And maybe our MCU representative is Doctor Strange. I don't know. So there's a lot of ways they could do it, but it's knowing Marvel, they're going to pull it off, unlike DC.
True. But do you think it will be a whole different type of a movie or just a part of the movie like this is going to be?
Yeah, apparently I think they'll just be a small part of the movie.
Okay.
But some other insiders about a year ago broke that there was an Illuminati Disney Plus show in development. Doesn't necessarily mean it still is or it's a for sure thing, but apparently there was talk of it, and it probably all depends on what's happened with the reshoots and script revisions for Multiverse of Madness, whether that thing's still a go.
The only thing that I don't like about that is there's no way you're going to have big actors be part of
I
the
agree.
Disney Plus part.
I agree. Yeah, let's say Tom Cruise really is in this for a cameo as an alternate version of Tony Stark. Yeah, he's not gonna do it. Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Come on now. That's
What?
not gonna
Me?
happen. Yeah. No. So but out of all those characters, I really want to see a really good version of Black Bolt. that does lead into a World War Hulk situation where he's at least coming to blows with Hulk. I think that could be incredibly exciting. So
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
lots of cool stuff from Marvel. They keep hitting it out of the park. Meanwhile, I mean, they have a few stumbles. I thought Black Widow was a stumble, but you know, you get a grand slam like No Way Home, and a lot of things get forgiven.
Oh, heck yeah. 100%. I agree. And then what people don't realize at all, if they World War Hulk, in my opinion, could be another one of those type of movies, because if they do that right, it could be out of this world grand slam, and what every Hulk fan
Yeah.
has wanted forever.
Well, okay. I mean, I agree, and there you go. The rumor at the end of She-Hulk is that Hulk goes into space again. So maybe they really are building up to a World War Hulk that would have to differentiate itself from what we saw in Ragnarok.
Yep.
But yeah, maybe we are going to get some more of that, which would be great in my opinion.
Yep.
I want
But he's
Savage
just,
Hulk back. Professor
I do
Hulk has
too.
got to go.
I agree. All right. I think that's all I got.
I think that's it for us.
This is it for us. We're done.
That's it. It's
All
over.
right. Well, hopefully we will see you all next
Hopefully
week.
we're going to get back on track. See you next week.
See you.